a little girl growing up in Southeast DC, life was pretty normal, simple, secure, safe. But after a while, at a young age, simplicity did not become or was not ever the norm for me anymore, as my parents decided to separate, which ultimately led to a divorce. My mom then became a single mom and had to raise this one young girl in the inner city. During that time, growing up, my self-esteem was low, my self-confidence was low, as well as my self-worth. Even going to school, I would consider myself an average student, BC student. And at some point, I started to become combative in effort to defend myself from the bullying. I would begin to get in some additional trouble, go to the office a little more frequently, and my life was just starting to change, and not necessarily for the better direction that I'm sure my mom would want me to go in. So recognizing that, she made a pivotal decision that forever changed the trajectory of my life. She decided that she's going to take her young daughter out of the city and move to the suburbs of Virginia, Arlington, Virginia, to be exact. And wow, what a great decision she made for me. My life changed almost instantly. My self-confidence is soared. My self-worth is soared. My self-esteem, it just rose exponentially. And oh, by the way, so did my grades. My grades went up to the point of being an honor student, where I have remained an honor student up until now, present day. With that said, however, my mom still knew she had this one daughter that she needed to raise. And because she was a single parent, she was adamant about me not becoming remotely closely involved with anything that could send signs of trouble or anything that could be mischievous. So I learned what it was to be busy at a very young age. I was a cheerleader, track runner, basketball player, played in the symphony band, played in advanced orchestra, was in clubs. I did it all. Girl Scouts, very involved in my community and in my church at a young age. And while self-esteem and confidence and all those things rose and skyrocketed, and that ability to exude positiveness about me exuded, so was the insatiable desire to be busy. Fast forward to today. It was a Saturday morning, around 8:30 in the morning, and I'm in my Zen space, I call it. Finally get to sleep in, which never happens for me. And all of a sudden I hear this do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What is that? That would be the rumbling of my children. Busting the doors open. There's no privacy as a mom, not even now. Mom, I need. Mom, this sibling. Mom, this. Mom, that. I'm hungry. And then it gets better on this particular Saturday. Let me tell you why. Not only did I hear the rumbling of my children, not only did the doors bust open, I hear mom, 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 mom. The computer starts dinging. The phone starts ringing. And I knew in that moment in time, my Zen had come to an end. Greetings, everyone. My name is Leslie Latimore-Lorfils, affectionately known as L3, and I am a very busy mom of 12 amazing children. Alongside of my husband, who serves with me on active duty in the military, I am a almost 25-year soldier, still currently serving. And as a result of our dynamics, Girl Organized That Life LLC was born. And that is where I get to pour into other busy and burned out moms, giving them strategies on how to conquer the overwhelm. So with that, we're going to segue, and I'm going to give you a few anecdotes with that and some information that I think will be valuable to everyone that sits under the sound of my voice that can help you to show up in the highest version of yourself. First thing we're going to talk about is mindset. Then we're going to talk about self-awareness under emotional intelligence. Then we're going to segue over to prioritization. And then finally, we'll talk about self-preservation and maintenance. But before we dive into all of that, let's talk about what it means to multitask. We are sold to the illusion of multitasking, thinking that we can get more done in a little bit of time because we're doing 5 things at once. But what we don't realize, We don't realize that some studies have shown that multitasking actually reduces the gray matter in your brain, which is responsible for your cognitive thinking, which entails spatial navigation. It entails your logic. It entails your ability to synthesize information and be able to regurgitate it back out. And it entails your memory. So while we're thinking we're getting so many things done, we're actually causing adverse to our brains without realizing it. Hence, that's why I call it an illusion to multitasking. If you are not familiar with the book called The One Thing, please become familiar and put that in your library. It is absolutely a game changer. So with that said, if you're multitasking, you're doing 5 things, you cannot give 100% of your efforts to yield the 100% results that you're expecting because you think you're doing more in less time. Now that we've covered the multitasking piece and what that means, let's go ahead and talk about mindset. One of my mentors, he always says to us, wherever you are in life, your mind got there first. And I strongly believe that. I believe in the imagery. I believe in the imagination of where you can see your future self, right? So wherever you are in life, your mind got there first. So you want to wake up with a positive outlook on things. Did you know that some additional studies also says that on average, we wake up every day with 12,000 to 80,000 thoughts, and approximately 60 to 80% of them are, I don't like to say negative, but are thoughts that we should refine. So I use me for an example. Sometimes when I wake up, I'm thinking, oh gosh, what is today going to be like? And I did not get to finish A, B, C, D, E, F, and G yesterday. So that means today is going to be heavier for me than I'd like because I didn't get to finish. Though it's not necessarily a bad thought, it's a thought that will hinder me from optimizing my greatness in the present moment because I'm busy worrying about what happened on yesterday. So make sure you control your mindset. Make sure you're thinking positive. Also, with your mindset, we have to dispel limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs will absolutely impede your ability to walk in the highest version of yourselves. Get rid of the I can'ts. I don't know how. I don't know if I want to do that. Example, I used to say, oh, I'm not the most techiest person in the world. Instead, I say, I am growing in my technological abilities. You see, you hear the difference in how that comes out? It even sounds different when I say it. So let's mind your mindset. Next, let's talk about emotional intelligence briefly. There are actually 4 components to emotional intelligence, but we're only going to cover one today, and that is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to be cognizant of who you are, how you show up, why you show up. Your ability to manage your emotions, your ability to manage your interpersonal relationships expeditiously, judiciously, and with some empathy. Your ability to do that. Self-awareness also talks about you showing up with confidence. Are you willing to put yourself forward? Well, if you're a busy, burned out mom, maybe not so much. The burnout may be overtaking you to the point it may cause you to shrink because you have all this load on you. So are you willing to show up self-confidently? That's also in emotional intelligence. Being self-aware of your surroundings, people, persons, places, and things, and everyone that you may impact, starting with having some introspection. Let's segue over to prioritization. We talked about multitasking. We talked about having all the things that we say now to do. Let's talk about a way that we can help to massage that. In the book 12-Week Years, another book I'd like for you to put into your library, it talks about time blocking, okay? There are 3 different types of time blocking. You have your strategic block of time, you have your buffer block, and you have your breakout block. Let's talk about what those mean. Your strategic block of time, which they recommend give yourself at least 5 hours a week, that's when you have 0 interruptions. No husband, no dog, no kids, no cats, no anything. 0 interruptions, no phone calls, nothing. That is when you're going to do your deep work. That's when you're going to work on those tasks that can be showstoppers. Then the next block is your buffer block. That's when you're working on things that are important but not urgent. Meaning, answer some emails, follow up with some phone calls, maybe look at your schedule and see what else you have going on for the day. That's the time when you would use your buffer time. You're still doing things that are very important, but it's not urgent, nor are they necessarily showstoppers. And the book recommends giving yourself 30 minutes to an hour of a day to take care of those things. And then lastly, the best time block for probably some people is your breakout time. And that's when you do your mindfulness or mindless activities, i.e. binge on Netflix. I don't know, take a walk outside, sit on your porch, do nothing. Look at the paint dry on the wall. That's your time to do whatever it is you want to do. Now, I would venture to say that highly successful people, though they need breakout time, they probably do not give themselves a lot of it. But we won't minimize or negate how important that is, because your breakout time can be your recharge time. So in prioritization, the first thing, take your tasks, list them out. I call it mind dumping, brain dumping, and then categorize them into those 3 blocks and how you would like to set up. You have things that are important and urgent. You have things that are urgent and not important. You have things that are important and not urgent. And you also have things that are neither important nor urgent. So govern your tasks according to those 4 quadrants, and then proceed to put those things into your time blocking so that it can help you to prioritize. I personally don't believe in balance. Something will always lean to the left or lean to the right. So I choose to prioritize and to constantly do a reassessment of what's going on, which segues to the next topic, which is self-preservation and self-maintenance. With that, the first thing I like to offer is that, particularly for you busy moms out there that's burned out, you have to learn to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries with people. You have to set boundaries with your family, your friends, with activities. You even have to set boundaries with yourself sometimes. And that goes back to your mind and your thoughts. What are you thinking about that's hindering you? Set the boundary. I'll give an example. My 12 children, 7 still remain home. So the 7 that are still home, and the older ones can attest to this. Whenever I come home after working a long Army day, I need 5 minutes at a minimum to decompress. And they understand that. I've trained them to know that. It's setting a boundary. That allows me to quickly reassess, get the lay of the land of what's happening at home, recharge myself, and just take a moment for me, which allows me to show up bigger and better for them to listen to all of the billion stories that they will have to share with me that day. And also lose the mommy guilt in setting boundaries. I even had to set a boundary with my 21-year-old daughter. Grown kids, they do come back. We were working on something for her about a month ago, and it was quite taxing on us both physically and mentally. So after we finished that task that took a few days, I told my daughter, I love you so much, I do. But I need you to self-regulate for about a week, because I have to recharge and rechannel my energy to your 7 siblings that still remain at home. And she understood exactly what I was saying. Why? Because I have learned to set boundaries. I've learned to set boundaries with external activities. I can't do everything. And remember, we say it all the time, no is absolutely a complete sentence. And it is okay to use that sentence as much as you need to. In addition to setting boundaries, I want you to also take time to go into a quiet space. Like I said, I call it Zen. Take time to sit on the porch, look at the birds fly, listen to them chirp, appreciate the nature, the clouds, the sun. If it's nighttime, appreciate the stars and the moon, the things that we take for granted that are there. Because we're so busy being busy, we forget about the simplicity that life really can bring if we allow it. So take time, whether if it's to meditate or to journal or to just sit and bask in your own presence. Lastly, under self-management, definitely find time to exercise. Exercising releases endorphins, which is going to help you to feel even more energized, more revitalized. It actually decreases stress, and it does a whole lot of physiological positive effects for your body. Make sure to take the time to do that. It is even going to help you to improve your sleep, because you would have exerted enough energy and your body naturally is going to say, I want to rest. Additionally to resting, make sure that you're able to, as best you can, shut your mind off. Sometimes when we're sleeping, we're not really resting because we're still thinking about what's to come. So make sure you're intentional about doing that. We talked about Multitasking. Don't be sold to the illusion of it. It is an adverse effect that you don't realize you're doing to yourself and your brain and your ability to actually be absolutely great. We then talked about mindset. Put yourself in a space and place of positive thinking, dispelling limited beliefs, imagining your future self and what you can offer the world. Then we segued over to prioritization. Constantly reassessing your glass balls, which can shatter, movements to do right now, versus the rubber balls, things that can wait and alleviate some of the stress that you're putting on yourself. Giving you a clear roadmap on how life is. Then lastly, we talked about self-preservation and self-management. Without you, there is no vision, there is no mission, there are no tasks, there are no goals, there are no dreams if you're not well. This is all part of you being whole and healthy so that you can continue to show up in your mighty way, so you can continue to really be that highest version of you that the world so needs. We need your gifts. We need your talents. And being able to provide that, you can do that by practicing these antidotes. It will allow you to, what I say, aim at people. AIM. Add value, inspire, and make a difference in the lives that you touch. Thank you so much for having me here today.